So tonight, I'm gonna be dissecting a little bit of Ilhan Omar's appearance on Face the Nation. Let's talk about it.
We gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise, yeah, that is a threat. You know that I promise to bring the team commas. When the whole team win, that's when you flex. Win, and I'ma do it again. Watch me win, then watch me do it again. Tell 'em I can't take no loss. My team.
Welcome to It's Culture Podcast with Mark Stevenson. I'm your host. Tonight, Ilhan Omar, she was on Face the Nation. She was talking about the things that were going on up in Minnesota. So tonight, I'm breaking down that a little bit of the clip of it. We're going to discuss some of the things that she said. We're going to get into how I feel about some of this stuff and give you my perspective. If this is your first time tuning in, we talk about all things politics, culture, entertainment, trending topics, sports, you name it. Why? Because I think it's all part of the culture. And especially when it comes to what's going on up in Minnesota and all these protests around the country. America right now is at a state of just chaos right now. And if chaos is just going on in the streets. So, especially in Minnesota. So Ilhan Omar was on Face the Nation this weekend. And she got kind of candid about Trump. And I got a clip. I'm going to break it down into different sections. We're going to watch some of this clip. Because I think it's important for us to hear from these legislators, the ones who are representing people in office. You know, everybody talks about voting and elect me and I'm going to be the candidate that's going to go do X, Y, and Z and bring resources and X, Y, and Z. But we also think about the local government, the mayors, the sheriffs, all of that. Everybody plays a part in how we are governed, especially in this country. So this clip from Face the Nation, I got a few sections. We're gonna take a listen. I want y'all to dive in with me as we listen to this. So check this out.
Given how much heat there is and the administration's scrutiny, would you tell Americans it's too dangerous to demonstrate and to go out and document as she was doing?
I think it is really important for Americans to record, to create the level of accountability and transparency that we need. What we have seen in Minneapolis is ICE agents oftentimes jumping out of their cars. These are unmarked cars. Oftentimes they're wearing a mask. They're approaching, running towards cars. They're pulling people out of those cars. Oftentimes these people are citizens. Oftentimes these people have documentation of their legal right to be in this country. And we know that DHS has lied repeatedly when it comes to these accounts. So it is even more important for there to be recording from eyewitnesses every single time these actions are taking place.
Okay, so she said, yes, we need people out recording what these ICE agents are doing. And I talked to one of my homeboys about this earlier. And I agree. I do not agree with these agents going around terrorizing people. That's not what you should be doing, especially with no identification, jumping out of unmarked cars, snatching people out. No. They need to announce themselves as police officers. If they have on the vest, they need to show themselves. They need to have identification like they regular cops. This is not supposed to be you just running up on folks, because if you run up on the wrong people What is going to happen if an American citizen has a firearm on them and you try to run up on their car and they think you about to carjack them and they turn around and fire at one of these officers? That's a dangerous situation to be in, especially for the police and as a citizen. Nobody should just be running up on people like that. I agree with that part. I agree with that part. You shouldn't just be running up on people, snatching them out of cars. That's not, if you are conducting operations and you are looking for people and you got warrants for these people and you're knocking on doors, busting in houses because you got warrants, that's one thing. But just to be running up on folks, asking them for credentials, I don't think that's what the American people want to see as a whole. I don't think we signed up for that part. Not at all. And if y'all did, and if you agree with them being able to just snatch people up without any type of impunity, then let me know. Let me know in the comment section, because I don't agree with that whatsoever.
But do you see from the recordings that we see, is there anything that you believe was being done that should not have been done by Macklin Good? The administration says she was blocking the road. They are claiming this is an act of terrorism.
Yeah, Renee Nicole Good, as you hear her say, she's not mad. She's sitting in her car, peacefully waving cars to get by. This agent, as you see, gets out of his car, automatically starts running towards her, trying to open her door. She feels scared. She tries to turn the wheel away. And then you see the other officer, who can clearly see the car is moving, move towards the front of the car, which, if they are saying that he has 10 years on service and is trained, he should know that you shouldn't be trying to get in front of a moving car. And so it is not acceptable for Kristi Noem and the president and the vice president to make these kind of judgments without there being a full investigation, even though we can see in the videos that have been produced so far that what they are describing is really not what is taking place.
That is actually what is taking place. Now, this is the part where it gets a little tricky, because that is exactly what's taking place. She asked about Macklin, the other one, Good. The one, so there are two women in this video that you see. You see the wife outside the vehicle, and she's talking to the ICE agents that's walking around the vehicle. There's an ICE agent walking around the vehicle, filming like the license plates, and because they are blocking the road. And she says, we don't switch plates. We gonna be here every single day. You better pack a lunch, big boy. I'm gonna be here all day. So she's talking to him as the other agents are talking to the wife. And the wife, they tell her to get out the car. And she's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. She said, get out the car. They tell her to get out the car. And then you start hearing somebody say no. She turns the vehicle. She puts it in reverse. They're trying to tell her to get out of the vehicle. Now, there's another cop in front. She cuts the wheel. People are saying that she didn't see him. I don't see how you can cut the wheel and not see the person sitting right there in front. And she tried to belly. He kind of moved out of the way like he was about to get hit. And he fired. That's exactly what happened. She was trying to leave. I don't know where fleeing from police isn't a criminal offense. They had already given her instructions to get out of the vehicle. I don't understand why she just didn't get out of the vehicle. That's the part that don't make any sense. They've already told you, get out of the vehicle. They knew that they were ICE agents. You knew that they were ICE. So it wasn't like they just ran up on these people and they didn't know who these people were. They knew exactly who they were. They were blocking the road for a reason. They knew that they were ICE agents. They were whistling to other people that ICE was coming down the street. That's what they were doing. We can't be disingenuous in this now.
And so if they're saying that we shouldn't believe our eyes, then let the investigation take place before you characterize this mother of three as a domestic terrorist. Prove to us what documentation you have, that one, that she was paid, two, that she was agitating when we can hear her say she's not mad, she's not upset. She's clearly trying to wave cars to bypass her. And so it's just this level of rhetoric is unjustifiable to the American people.
So in regards to this, he said if he's paid, what are they doing if they're not paid? She said that they were going around the city to different protests filming these ICE agents. So if you got all this time throughout the day, then when are you working? When are you actually working? So you have to be a paid agitator to do this, because the vast majority of the people I see that they're interviewing, asking questions about, they don't even know what's going on really. They just know what they're supposed to be doing right now. And you can see all those videos all over TikTok and Instagram and everything else, and X and whatever else platform you want to listen to it on. But let's keep listening.
Just quickly on that, you said accountability, and it's important for people to document what's happening. I just want to be abundantly clear, because the administration says that their officers are being stalked and harassed. When you say accountability, you are only describing recording like she was doing?
Yeah, I think it is fair for citizens to document what law enforcement is doing in their communities.
Against some of these agents as well.
Well, there's also been violence against residents in Minneapolis.
So she just said there has been violence against the police officers. If there's violence against police officers, then what is going on? That's lawless. That's lawless. You start attacking police officers, you're going to get yourself killed. Okay? Especially these federal agents. Do they really think that Donald Trump is going to prosecute one of these federal officers for shooting somebody in the line of duty when they say it's justified because they're if you're going to film them from afar, but they tell you to back up. Stay away from the distance. If you're going to film. These cameras we got, you don't have to be all up on these people. You can hit shots from all over. You can zoom in. Just don't get in the way, and just don't be assaulting them. I'm telling you, it's not going to end well for you if you start assaulting police officers. It ain't going to end well, especially not these federal agents.
There right now is a lot of heat on your state. Treasury Secretary Bessent called Minnesota ground zero for what may be the most egregious welfare scam in our nation's history to date. 85 of the 98 people who were charged by the Justice Department with this welfare scheme are Somali. And you know this. The Treasury Secretary is probing whether any of the money was somehow funneled outside the country. He actually issued new standards. He's going to make make someone disclose if they receive public assistance when they try to wire money out of the country, and he's lowered the bar for suspicious activity. What is the practical impact of doing that in the community?
It's just creating fear.
It's creating fear? How is it creating fear? She just gave you the facts. 85 of the 98 people who have been indicted for this stuff are of Somali descent. That's a fact. That's a fact. So how is it promoting fear when that's a fact?
What they are doing is creating confusion, chaos, trying to intimidate people from being able to exercise their regular, normal activities that they would. There is no justification in any.
So normal activities is defrauding the federal government. Okay.
Any of the things that they say. The 87 people that you've described as being investigated, many of them adjudicated, all happened under the Biden administration. There is no justification for this search. We know that ICE has the ability to conduct raids. There is no reason to have over 2,000 people coming in to our city and creating the level of terror that they have created.
Well, the administration argues that they have to do it because the state failed to, right?
The the federal government and the state have been working peacefully together and have brought justice to these 87 people that you've described. None of the search that they have conducted has produced any sort of criminal activity. They haven't been able to charge anyone as of yet.
Well, the administration also announced they're going to cut food stamps to Minnesota because they say some of the food stamp money had been embezzled here.
And those are the things that are being litigated, and it is, again, unconstitutional for them to do so.
Are you confident that the fraud that has been discovered is no longer being conducted now? Is there any justification for saying this food stamp money is somehow being misused?
Yeah, there are ways to investigate fraud, which we have been doing in Minnesota, which the federal government has been doing under the Biden administration. There is no reason for them to use this level of rhetoric. There is no reason for them to fully stop funding these programs. The only reason they are doing that is for PR purposes.
Okay, so you all heard Ilhan Omar in regards to the fraud. She don't want the money to stop. She don't want the money train to stop, okay? As you see, she never said, she just said the people as you described. She never called them by the name. She never said these people. She never said, yeah, whatever. She kind of brushed it off. She didn't want to, she really didn't want to discuss the fraud, really. She said that, the fraud first came about up under the Biden administration. These people got indicted up under Biden. The fraud in Minnesota dates back to 2005, way before Biden was in office. 2005. They had whistleblowers that were blowing the whistle in 2009 getting fired. The reason why the federal government is in Minnesota right now doing what they're doing as far as the fraud is concerned is because Tim Walz's administration, we have to keep it a buck, Tim Walz's administration were silencing whistleblowers. They were firing whistleblowers. They didn't want this fraud to come out. They didn't want it to come out. Tim Walz ran for the vice president of the United States. And not one time did we ever hear about the fraud that was going on in Minnesota to the extent to which it was. Not one time. Not one time. And he was just running to be the vice president. Now, this stuff with Biden goes all the way back to COVID funds. But it never pinned it on Tim Walz. It wasn't until, and we can say this, until recently, that all this heat then came down on Minnesota, that they now want to say that the federal government in Minnesota been working hand in hand. No, y'all silence the whistleblowers. Y'all want this money to continue to come because it's been a slush fund for a lot of things. There are reports of how much currency was going out of the Minnesota airport. Way larger than even LaGuardia and ATL and LAX. Large amounts of currency. Wire transferring places. And they're saying, hey, you know what? If you are getting welfare money, you shouldn't be able to wire that money out of the country. What's wrong with that? It's supposed to be used for your livelihood here. Why are you wiring the money out of the country for? That means we got too much money leaving. So Ilhan Omar didn't want to talk about the fraud. She didn't want to really get into that part. She want to say, hey, they don't want ICE. They don't want nobody investigating anything. If they're going to do the investigations, she said they haven't produced nothing. That's not true. They just indicted a whole scheme back in December. What do you mean they haven't produced anything? They just indicted a bunch of more for another scheme. These indictments can continue to happen. There's a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota. And Minnesota is just ground zero. There's fraud going on all over the country. And she can't sit up here and act like this stuff is not happening and y'all are confusing the American people and they're like, well, this stuff is not true. I think it's all crap. There's no fraud. While the debt and everything else is just ballooning out of control. We're getting pillaged right now. Open your eyes and think critically for once and stop listening to this garbage. Just think about it. Go read the indictments. You think the federal government just going around trumping up charges just to do it just for the sake of it right now? How many lawsuits they have to file? How much litigation? How much money that's wasted? How much wasted time and restitution you have to pay the people? That's more money coming out of the government and our dollars. They ain't got time for that. So I'll be glad to see what y'all think about it in the comments. What y'all think about what Ilhan Omar had to say? I'm interested. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Culture Nation. Let's keep it culture.